It's Friday, August 21st, 2026. You're listening to the DX Today AI Daily Brief. Today, NVIDIA pays $6 billion for a startup's model factory without buying the startup. Anthropic adds another bank to what could become the largest listing in American market history. And Alibaba shows exactly what the AI build-out is costing. Let's get into it.
NVIDIA has agreed to pay about $6 billion to license AI model development software from the startup Poolside in a deal that stops short of an outright acquisition. Under terms reported this week, NVIDIA takes a non-exclusive license to Poolside's so-called model factory, the system the company built to train and refine large coding models. NVIDIA is also extending job offers to 109 Poolside employees and investing a further $1 billion at a $12 billion pre-money valuation. Poolside's three co-founders stay in place. The structure matters. NVIDIA builds its own open model line, Nemotron, which puts it in quiet competition with some of its largest customers. Buying the capability without buying the company softens that conflict.
Now to the public markets.
Anthropic is moving closer to a public listing, and the underwriting table keeps getting bigger. Bloomberg reports the company is preparing to add Citigroup to the top ranks of its initial public offering advisors, joining Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and JP Morgan Chase. People familiar with the process say Anthropic could file publicly as soon as the end of this month. The lineup is not final, and the company has not confirmed a timetable. What has drawn attention is scale. Bankers and investors expect a raise that could match or surpass the record set by SpaceX, which would make it the largest listing in American market history. For a company that filed a confidential draft registration earlier this year, the next few weeks are the ones that count.
From Wall Street to Hangzhou.
Alibaba delivered the clearest picture yet of what the AI build-out costs. For the June quarter, revenue rose about 9% to roughly 269 billion yuan. Net income fell about 75% to just over 10 billion yuan. The pressure came from capital spending, which Reuters reports climbed about 75% as the company poured money into AI infrastructure. The other half of the story is demand. Revenue from AI cloud and compute services rose about 45% to roughly 48 billion yuan, an acceleration from prior quarters. Investors focused on the profit line. Alibaba's American-listed shares fell close to 5%. The company is spending heavily now on the argument that cloud growth eventually pays for it.
Staying with the big money.
Broadcom is in talks to raise more than $60 billion in debt, in what would be one of the largest financings yet tied to AI infrastructure. Reuters, citing Bloomberg reporting, says the package could reach $100 billion in total, split between a senior tranche of roughly $60 to $70 billion and a junior tranche near $30 billion. Apollo and Blackstone are discussing participation. The money would flow through a special purpose vehicle rather than sitting on Broadcom's balance sheet, and it would fund data center capacity for customers buying the company's custom AI chips, including Anthropic. It follows a similar $35 billion platform. Broadcom set up with the same two firms. Chip makers are increasingly financing the buildings their silicon goes into.
Next, a long-term bet.
Micron Technology is committing $10 billion over the next decade to a long-horizon research effort based in Boise, Idaho. The company calls it Micron Research Labs, and it is less a single building than a network, anchored by a flagship facility in its home city. The focus is memory technology, memory and compute architectures, advanced packaging, and the manufacturing processes that come after today's generation of chips. That last part is the tell. Memory has become the choke point in AI systems, where the bottleneck is often not raw compute, but how fast data can move to and from the processor. Micron is betting that the next decade of AI performance gets decided in memory design, and it wants that work happening on American soil.
Now, to your desktop.
OpenAI has put ChatGPT inside Apple Messages on the Mac. The new plugin lets the assistant search and read conversations across iMessage, text and rich communication services, summarize long threads, pull out details, and draft replies. It can prepare and send messages too, though sending is approval gated by default, so nothing leaves without a click. The feature requires a Mac with Apple Silicon, and it is available in ChatGPT Work and Codex rather than ordinary consumer chats. The reaction has been split. Some users welcome an assistant that can finally see the context it is being asked about. Others note that Android and Windows customers are still waiting for anything comparable, and that this arrives while the relationship between OpenAI and Apple remains, by most accounts, complicated.
Following the enterprise spending.
One of Microsoft's biggest AI customers turns out to be Meta. Bloomberg reports that Meta Platforms has quietly become one of the largest buyers of AI capacity on Microsoft Azure, spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year to access models through the cloud service. Neither company has publicly confirmed the figures, which come from a person familiar with the arrangement. The detail is striking because Meta runs one of the industry's largest private compute fleets and publishes its own open model family. That a company of that size still rents frontier capability from a rival says something about how concentrated demand has become. The AI economy's largest customers are increasingly each other, and the revenue moves in circles.
More on developer tools.
Google is folding Antigravity, its agentic coding platform, into Gemini Enterprise subscriptions. Antigravity came out of the DeepMind research group, and until now, it has largely lived as a standalone developer tool. Under the change announced this week, it becomes available with eligible Gemini Enterprise licenses, specifically the Standard, Plus, and Standard Emerging Market tiers, and it inherits Google Cloud's controls for security, administration, auditing, and spend management. That last piece is the point. Enterprises have been slow to hand autonomous coding agents access to production systems, and the objection is rarely capability. It is governance. Who approved this? What did it touch? And what did it cost? Google's answer is to put the agent inside the control plane companies already use.
Turning to music streaming.
Apple Music will start labeling songs made with artificial intelligence. In a note to industry partners this week, Apple said content providers will be required to include AI transparency tags when they deliver music, and the service will begin showing a visible, made with AI marker to listeners later this year. It builds on a system Apple introduced in March, covering artwork, tracks, compositions and music videos, but with a significant change. What was optional metadata becomes a disclosure requirement. Apple has not said how it will police this, or what happens to a label that gets it wrong. The move follows Spotify, which began flagging AI involvement on artist profiles earlier this month. Streaming's biggest platforms are converging on disclosure rather than removal.
Not every launch goes smoothly.
Grok spent part of this week producing nonsense. Users began reporting that the chatbot was returning strings of gibberish rather than coherent answers, with most complaints coming from people using Grok Lite on the web. The problem surfaced as early as Wednesday morning. In a post on its own platform, XAI acknowledged what it described as a rare temporary generation glitch affecting some users, though its status page showed no active incident at the time, and reporters were unable to reproduce the failure consistently. The company has not published a technical explanation. The episode is small, but it lands at an awkward moment for a product that has been pushed aggressively into consumer surfaces, where an incoherent answer is far more visible than a slow one.
Now, an unusually large seed.
A London startup founded last year has raised $100 million in seed funding, an unusually large first round even by current standards. The company is Colossum, and its software matches AI workloads to the right combination of model and chip, rather than defaulting to whatever hardware happens to be available. Atomico led the round, with participation from Plural, DCVC, and the United Kingdom's Sovereign AI Fund. The founders, Daniela Karka and Yasha Achterberg, are neuroscientists who met during doctoral work at Cambridge, and the pitch draws directly on that background. Route computation the way a brain does, to the region best suited to it. The commercial argument is simpler. Most AI inference today runs on hardware chosen by habit.
And finally, memory supply.
SK Hynix is weighing a major memory manufacturing investment in Japan. The Hankyoreh newspaper reported Friday, citing industry sources, that the South Korean chipmaker is considering building a plant in Miyagi Prefecture in the country's northeast to help meet demand for the high bandwidth memory that AI accelerators depend on. SK Hynix said publicly that no plan has been finalized, so the specifics deserve caution. Still, the direction is consistent. High bandwidth memory is one of the tightest supply constraints in the entire AI hardware chain, and the companies that make it are under pressure to add capacity faster than any single country's construction pipeline allows. Japan has been courting exactly that investment with subsidies.
That's your briefing for Friday, August 21st, 2026. For DX Today, stay curious.